This is Fred Beck from Fred Talks Fighting. I'm joined over Zoom by Mams Taylor. Mams, it's great to catch up with you once again. We got a few points to go over here. I've written it down in my notes as usual. I know a shorter time, so we'll just head straight into it. We'll start with the Dana White comments that he made on the Full Send podcast. I always love listening to the Full Send podcast of the Nelk Boys, so I'll sure to tune in. He said he doesn't think that KSI versus Tommy Fury and Logan Paul and Dennis. He seems to think it didn't do 1.3 million pay-per-view buys. Were you surprised by his comments he made?
Um, I wouldn't say surprised. I know, look, I really respect Dana and what he's done. And I think it's nothing short of phenomenal. And he's one of my favorite promoters. So on one hand, it's like, hey, why are you coming and saying that against us when I don't think he's been informed by anyone credible about the numbers or anything. I don't know. Um, and on the other hand, it's quite a compliment to have Dana White take that much time to actually talk about your brand. Usually, it's kind of a compliment because obviously it's on the guy's radar. But at the end of the day, I can't. He defends UFC. He doesn't want there to be any kind of threat to the UFC in any capacity, and he dies on that hill if he has to, and I respect that, and he goes for it. But at the same time, he said a couple of things that were pretty inaccurate. He said that we if we did between 700,000 and 1.3 million, we would be doing a pay-per-view every month and every broadcaster would be coming after us. Well, the first point is I'm pretty sure that we could go to any broadcast we wanted if we were not in a 5-year deal. And if we were not happy, and we are very happy, and we've got great broadcast partners in DAZN, and that deal is a 5-year deal for a reason, because they saw early on what Misfits boxing is capable of. The other point is Dana said they would be doing 10 events a year or something along those lines, right? What did he
Was it like
say?
a
10?
pay-per-view every month or something along those lines? Yeah.
Started by saying they do an event every month, which we're pretty close to doing. Yeah. So 10, 12 events a year or whatever it is. So we've been doing that. Then later on, he said they'd be doing a pay-per-view every month, but we couldn't do a prime card every month. And he's right. We can't, if he's insinuating we can't do that every month, he's correct. We cannot, because we have a few pay-per-view stars in our world, right? And that are established, but we're building others, and it takes time. And no matter what anyone says, I can't be anything but super proud of what Misfits Boxing has achieved in just over a year. So I don't think any other organization or promotion has risen quite as quickly to the point where they are doing those kinds of numbers. And I can tell you this categorically. I can't speak on the exact number just because that's how it is with us and DAZN. We don't, they don't do that and we don't do that. I will say this once again. Bar none, this was the highest amount of pay-per-views bought this year. There is nothing that beats our number. And, everyone can say what they want. And I'll say this. Everyone does inflate their numbers massively, sometimes double, sometimes I've seen triple. Okay. So whatever people are saying, they're going to be saying. I think it's good that we're on Dana's radar in some capacity. The Nelk boys, if Dana said, "Oh my God, it was awesome, it was so fun," they would have agreed with him. If the Nelk boys said, "Oh, it was," if Dana said, "Oh, it was a pile of dog shit," they would have agreed with him. Whatever he said, they were there to agree with him.
Mams Taylor responds to the Nelk Boys. I mean, as long as people are talking about you, and that's all that really matters, as long as you're on people's radar. Speaking of people being on people's radar, though, KSI versus Speed. This was going viral everywhere I looked yesterday. Aiden Ross reunited his speed on his stream, and they're both talking about it. Manny Pacquiao was DMing speed. I mean, it's a very, very good promotion for Misfits of KSI. I mean, who thought KSI would be having a comeback fight this soon? I'm sure Speed will be streaming it, and it's happening on the same day and the same time as Jake Paul's fight. Is
Well,
KSI Speed bigger than Jake Paul's fight?
unquestionably, I think you know the answer to that. But look, I haven't. I don't. I think it's a coincidence. I don't know what's going on here
It's
with
just a
this.
coincidence it's going on at 4 a.m., the exact same time that Jake Paul's one's going
Look,
on.
all I'm saying to you is this is actually this is something I'm catching up with. So let me see what's really going on here.
So you basically you just woke up and you saw on your phone because you live in Nashville and you're not obviously the UK time zones are different and you saw it all go down. You haven't actually spoke to JJ or Speed or anyone
I,
like that yet.
yeah, I don't know how. You know, I've obviously seen what's going on, and I thought it's a joke, but you know, apparently it's not. So let's see what happens. But very interesting.
Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran was down at the Katie Taylor versus Chantal Cameron fight in Ireland, and he called out Lewis Capaldi. Is there any possible chance that could happen on Misfits?
See what you guys do. Do you see what you guys do? Ed Sheeran called out Lewis Capaldi. No, he didn't. The who was interviewing him, by the way,
It was
whoever it was.
Colm. It was Colm from IFL.
Okay, so they were asking him, if you had to fight on Misfits, who would you fight? And then he said his mum first, didn't he?
I think so. Yeah, someone he knew quite close.
Right. And then kept pushing him, and then he said Lewis Capaldi. Do you think that means Ed Sheeran, you know, next pay-per-view Ed Sheeran, Lewis Capaldi? It's really, if only it were that easy, Fred. Okay, but yeah, I understand the headline's great, and yeah, it's probably not something that Ed Sheeran has in his immediate trajectory, but if he does, I'll definitely let you break the story.
Definitely, you'll definitely have your phone open to Ed Sheeran. Have you ever spoken to Ed before? Yeah, made contact with him.
Yeah, yeah, I've met him with JJ. Super nice guy. Really cool.
Yeah, he's
Down to
always
earth.
seems that. I've seen a few of his interviews. He seems like pretty relaxed. It seems like
Yeah.
the fame doesn't really bother him, which is quite nice to see. Moving down, Ryan Garcia returns to the ring this weekend after his loss against Javonda Davis. Dean the Great has been calling him out, kind of mocking and violating him online quite a lot. Ryan Garcia and Shakur Stevenson have been responding. Is there any chance you could team up with Golden Boy and make this fight happen, Mams? I know Golden Boy promotes Ryan Garcia and Ryan fights on his own. Dean the Great fights on his own. Any leeway there at all?
Anything's possible. I think Dean has a lot of talent, but he's, you know, I would personally like to see Dean have a couple more fights and be fully prepared for a fight of that magnitude and build himself up a little bit more. And I think that's the right way for him to go. I think he has incredible raw talent. Right now, he's injured, so you know, I love how he's ruffling feathers, but I did gain some respect for Ryan Garcia today. Not that, you know, I've got to respect him as a fighter regardless. Okay, so what? He lost to Tank Davis, who's actually amazing. But but he really, I don't know if you're
Was it the viral clip of him on stage where he had Oscar De La Hoya made a speech for him, Bernard Hopkins
yes.
made a speech for him, and then he made a speech. He just went after both of them right in front of their faces.
Yes, and he didn't hold back. And listen, I take pride, no matter what people think on Twitter or this and that. People who know me on a one-on-one basis and fighters I work with, they know I care about them. I take time to understand them, what they want, what they need, what their goals are. I take time on the phone to speak to these guys because they're human. They're not pieces of meat, you know, and that are just there to make you money. It's a partnership you're forming, and that's what a long-term partnership is based on, a mutual respect. And and I think that he hasn't been treated very well. So good for him for having the balls to say fuck you to whoever's disrespected him.
Standing up for himself, kind of making
Yeah,
a noise,
and
standing
and,
by
and I
himself.
would want I would want Misfits boxers to do the same if they were if anyone you know, did them wrong over at Misfits or anywhere else. Because I tell you this, like, I take pride in making sure everyone gets the memo. Um, that fighters are treated very fairly and well. Now, that doesn't mean once in a while a fighter doesn't behave very well themselves or acts a little too diva-ish or something, and I don't tolerate that either. No bullshit, but kindness otherwise, and that's pretty much the philosophy we have with everyone. And I think that Ryan has had a series of things happen to him where he's felt pretty disrespected, and kudos to him for standing up for himself against that. I don't think not everyone in this boxing game is very stable, and the promoters and some managers and some other people, they're a bit all over the place. I think with work, you've got to it's fine to have a persona on Twitter and joke around and laugh and be a bad guy or be a good guy, but at the end of the day, moving with integrity is a very important thing, I think, and especially long term, and especially if you care about how people remember you and how people think of you and how they think of your business, because they associate the promoter with their business essentially, and if fighters aren't being treated fairly, respectfully, and things like that, it's going to be a stain on the business, and there's always options to go elsewhere. So if you're a up and coming fighter, and yes, there's some big names out there that have been established, but there's also horror stories of how they've mistreated their fighters and so on and so forth, then you've got another option suddenly of people who treat you kindly, treat you fairly, are transparent with you, and don't bullshit you. Where are you going to go?
It's good there's lots of options of fighters. You do hear a lot of horror stories, especially after fighters retire. It's usually after they've boxing careers finished, and you hear all the kind of bad stories about the promoters and stuff like that. Misfits 012, when we'll hear about an announcement about that? Before Christmas, just after Christmas? When do you reckon?
I think very soon, Frederick.
Before Christmas then. Okay. That sounds pretty good then. All right. Two things I do want to touch on before I let you go. I just came back from Abu Dhabi. I was in Dubai, as you do. And when I went to Abu Dhabi and watched F1, and I got into F1 by watching the Netflix series Drive to Survive. It's kind of reality TV sort of version where they film all behind the scenes. They film the driver's perspectives, what goes on, all the conversations. Do you think we'll ever see a Misfits version of Drive to Survive? Have you seen the Netflix series?
Oh yeah, I think that could be quite interesting. There's been a lot of conversations and some pilots and some things sitting around that are very interesting. Just waiting to make sure that when that happens, it's the right time and it's the right content to
Oh, so
represent.
you have got that in mind then, that content sort of soon.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's so much potential that hasn't been tapped into yet, and everything's moved very quickly for Misfits Boxing, and it's at a pace where we're expanding really quickly. We're definitely, our team's expanding. There's all kinds of opportunities of growth for people that are in the system already and everything. So there's strategic expansion points for next year have been laid out. So I'm just waiting to see if I always try to shoot for the stars. And sometimes, if you do that, you land on the moon. So it's not a bad thing.
No, not at all. And why is it like on Twitter and YouTube? I always see like really cool promos, like the Mayweather McGregor one back in the day. The people like fan promos people make. They put like a montage of the fighters. They have cool music in the background. Why can we not have like one of those of each main event Misfits fight and the co-main event? Why can we not have that going up on the YouTube channel for Misfits?
I think that's something. Well, the content side of things, there's an agreement with DAZN and Misfits, so sometimes it's a little bit slow, but I think we've both sides have agreed to tackle that, and hopefully we have a lot more efficiency next year. Look, as well as we've done, the first year of Misfits Boxing being around, first 15 months, 16 months, it's done amazingly, but we still have so much room for improvement. There's so many things that could be tidier, more efficient, get the communication right with our fans. There's a lot. And this is good because if we were doing the very best we did the best we could with what we had. But if we did the best ever and we hit our roof, then there's nowhere to go from there, And I think uh, breaking the record for the biggest pay-per-view this year, doing things that we've done and achieved and already in such a short space of time. It's incredible, but there's no time to sit there and pat ourselves on the back and celebrate this. We've got to move forward with new concepts, get amazing, thrilling fights on for people, create storylines naturally, organically, plant seeds, whatever we need to do to keep the entertainment growing and going, and create new pay-per-view stars. And we've tried Survivor Tag. We have had a mystery opponent. We've done the tag team. We're going to continue to bring fun elements into this, where it's going to be entertaining, and then serious elements as well. So, there's a lot to look forward to.
Certainly. One more thing before I let you go. I listened to your kind of small council meeting, and you're trying to find an opponent for Anderson Silva. What about Faye Sensei? Well, why do you do Faye Sensei versus Anderson Silva? Would that not be quite a good matchup?
I think Le'Veon Bell, Faye Sensei, Jake Botswick, Idris Virgo, one of those four guys would be great for Anderson.
Idris would beat him for sure. Jake Bostwick, I'm not too sure because I haven't seen too much of him. I know he's sparring Jake Paul right now. He's an OG of the channel. But then the Face Sensei fight is a good one. And so's everyone, he's a lot more famous than Le'Veon Bell, Face Sensei, I feel. I feel like he's more relevant at the time than Le'Veon.
Le'Veon.
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell.
It's a good fight, and Le'Veon's no slouch,
No, Le'Veon's very, very good, but I feel like Face Sensei is more on the team.
Le'Veon Bell was supposed to fight Anthony Taylor instead of King Kenny in the beginning, and Le'Veon was going to cut so much weight to get to 175 for that title, and he let me know that he was unable to make that weight. And and I doubted it in the beginning as well, because he's a big guy. And I said, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" And then he found out that he couldn't safely do that. And one thing with weight cuts is I really try and communicate with the fighter on a regular basis and be like, "Look, how's your weight? What's going on? If I need to speak to the nutritionist, I'd like to. I want to make sure we do very safe weight cuts if that's a thing, if for someone, if that's a requirement for someone. I don't want them draining themselves so much that they can't function properly. I'm very against that. So,
Yeah, certainly. That's good about Misfits boxing. Unlike any other combat sport promotion, I don't really see or ever hear about any like horror weight cutting stories you do in other sports. But it's good to see you, Mams. I do appreciate you coming on Zoom. I'll see you soon next month, actually. But yeah, anything else you want to add before I see you next?
Always a pleasure, Frederick. I will see you soon.